Happy Pride Month, everyone. I don't try to guess if someone's trans or not anymore. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. Like, you'll run into cis women that they just clearly look like women, and they can be trans, but it's better just not to tell by the voice either. It comes back to the question of, what does a cis woman sound like? What does a cis man sound like? Like, you can't really define it because everyone has a very unique voice. I don't really try to tell if someone is trans anymore in general, because it's like, why even try to tell? Like, what does the woman look like? What does the man look like? Like, what does being trans look like? It's not really something you need to even ask anymore. I've been stealth for like a few years now, and the only time I ever get clocked is when it's another trans person. I've had someone come up to me who was trans. It was one of my coworkers. They came up to me and they like pretty much clocked me and like mentioned it to me. I'm like, okay, well, that's really weird that you would come up and talk to me without, like, I don't know, verifying first that I'm comfortable talking about this, especially when it's in the women's bathroom. No joke, by the way, that's actually where it happened. Yeah, I was at work one day and I was in the women's bathroom, and this non-binary person came up to me and they were like, I'm transitioning the other way. Like, good for you. I didn't ask. The point is, she has a really interesting and deep voice. Yeah, it comes back to what I was saying about, like, not all trans people actually like each other. Like, I don't like the whole culture of calling out people who are trans unless they're like bad people. If someone's stealth, just leave them alone. If it's very clear that someone looks like you, even if you can tell if someone's trans, like if they're passing, just leave them alone. Your people will get you, kind of thing. I think I usually assume gender based on voice and correct myself if I'm wrong. I've started defaulting to they, them. If I can really help it, I still slip sometimes because it's hard to tell sometimes. I've met cis women that have deeper voices than I do. So I also hear people say that my voice doesn't sound like other women's, and I've heard women that sound like me. So unfortunately, we're a very complex species and everyone sounds different. I know that from experience because someone I know IRL, who's a woman who has a very gruff and moderately deep voice, who's been in my life a few points when I was a kid and when I worked with them. Funny how things turn out. Abstract as voices can range in extremely range of variety. People are complex. I think that's an important notion to talk about and like really kind of spread awareness about, is at least this Pride Month, general, like going into the future. I don't think we should try to focus so much on people's voices and like how they look and stuff, because there's no actual true binary. Like, everyone's on a spectrum. I think the entire world's on a spectrum in some way, whether it's gender expression, gender identity, whether it's sexuality. And there's smaller spectrums too, like asexual is a spectrum. It's on its own thing. It's like a y-axis spectrum or something. So kind of funny, like I finally get it, because I was talking to Nyara once about how I noticed a trans person. I was like to her about it, and I was like, I could just tell that they were trans, and she asked me how. She was like, can you tell they're trans? And I'm like, and I tried to explain it, and when she pointed out the way I was saying, I was like, wow, that's very kind of like, if you really look and read what you're saying, you kind of sound like you're being transphobic, because you're predefining like certain features that should only be on a certain type of sex or a certain type of a hormone, which is either like estrogen dominant or testosterone dominant. You're just assuming things about people. But there's women that have like very strong masculine features, and there's men that have very feminine features. That's why femboys and tomboys exist to begin with. Nothing is black and white and all, some variant of color. Yeah, I try to like default to they, them. I mess up. I won't lie, I mess up. Sometimes I try to avoid the they, them concern and just address the person by name, alias, unless the pronouns are brought up by the person in question. Femboys are called femboys and tomboys aren't called mass girls. I don't actually know. That's a very good question. That's a good question to like look into. Someone should try to figure that out. So I don't question how people look. If that's how someone looks, that's how they look. Not gonna stop me from calling them either cute, hot, or both, right? But yeah, I think that was like a wake-up call to me when Yara kind of like, she like subtly clocked me that I was like talking in a very non-PC way, and I was like, wow, you know, it took me a while to realize what she was doing there. But it's interesting looking back. It's like, how can you actually tell? Like, how can you tell if someone's trans? Because some people, again, have masculine features and they might be AFAB, or they might have feminine features and might be AMAB, or they might be intersex. So I think we should just stop defining people based on our like cognition of like the way they look and stuff. It's all like ridiculous anyway. If you're really looking at stuff, the way society has been really heavily defined by oligarchies and big corporations for so fucking long. I mean, I was just talking to my mom about this today, but I'm not sure how many of you guys know this, but the modern trend of women being hairless, you know, like shaving their armpits and shaving everything and be completely shaven, is a problem that was manufactured before the early like 20s, I think, like 1920s. Essentially, the company Gillette created the problem. They pushed this ideal that women should be hairless, so they started trying to sell razors to women, because I mean, men shaved their faces, but they wanted to sell to women as well. So they started pushing this idea that women should shave their armpits and their legs and stuff. And that's been pretty much like the modern society now, because it was pushed by a big corporation because they wanted more money. Create a product, create a problem to sell it. Yeah, the kicker is nobody can tell. Though we can tell, crowd always can fuck right off and get clocked and blunged. Yeah. A lot of issues was because somebody wanted money. Almost I think every single holiday, every single holiday that you celebrate was invented by like Hallmark or some other company or something, just to sell greeting cards or merchandise and stuff, and consumerism. They just took holidays that were practiced by like paganism or Hinduism or Buddhism, etc., and they just morphed them and changed them, and they'd be like, well, we can sell cards with this, we can make money off of this, we can invent this problem, we can sell the solution and cause, you know, a boom in the economy. I'm very anti-capitalist now, like very anti-capitalist now. I think we do not need a capitalist society at all, but that's just my opinion. The ultimate end of victory is then the problem will always increase. Brings me back to my video that I made today. Makeup was invented in 4000 BCE, and it was invented for men. In like the 1800s, they're like, well, we can sell this to women, and that's another problem. It's like they created the problem to sell things. They created this modern, you know, societal expectations that women wear makeup to sell things. If the ultimate end is money, then the problems will always increase. Men had the makeup, men had the dresses, men rode the horses, men got the big wigs, men had the high heels. And then there was a change, and suddenly that's all women's stuff. That's all femme stuff. Men shouldn't wear that stuff. You ever thought like what could happen if we could just go back in time and like people from ever creating these gender norms, like creating these fucking ridiculous gendered society bullshit? Exceptions, guys, we should wear eyeliner to keep bad stuff away. Modern businesses, guys, we should make fake eyeliner to profit from made up bad stuff. I still see men wear makeup. I mean, like look at our vice president. He wears eyeliner all the time. It just shows how society and socialization changes so much over time, and how the modern problems of today, especially with trans people, are just invented problems that shouldn't matter. It's really crazy to think about all that stuff, because expectations that trans women have are just so ridiculous. They're always like, oh, we won't leave, you know, we wouldn't care about trans people if they didn't just leave the kids alone. Then they harass trans people because they don't pass. And then they say, oh, I don't want to collude in your delusions and shit like that. I know plenty of trans people get harassed just for being trans, and they're like, well, I wouldn't care about you. Just shut up. You obviously fucking care. And it's like, the meme image says, you're hurting your movement, coming from the guy that hates you and your movement. That stupid meme. Yeah, they also harass trans kids. They basically harass trans kids into killing themselves. Yeah.
She's pink and she's glowing, her hair stays flowing, and she drops hot takes like she just don't care. Your precious lady is about to arrive. Wouldn't advise getting on her bad side. Don't know if she has talent, but she just might. Everybody questioning who the best druid around is. Like who is? It's the pretty pink icon. Whooith.